Hello everyone, Matt Santis back here with another video. Today I'm going to be showing you guys my Dogmatika Invoked Shaddoll deck. So with the release of Rise of the Duelists, we did get access to the new Dogmatika cards, powerful cards such as Ecclesia, Maximus Fleur de Lis, Dogmatika Punishment, and last but not least, Nadir Servant. And these are all really good cards to fit into Shaddoll Invoked. And these have so much synergy in the deck, and they do kind of fix a lot of the problems that the deck had before, because the deck before kind of didn't have any one-card plays outside of Alistair, and now this engine does just increase the consistency and the ceiling of this deck pretty much tenfold, just because you do not have to run as many Shaddoll monsters as you'll see later on. But also with the release of Rise of the Duelists is that Shaddoll Schism, previously known as Shaddoll Rook in the OCG, is an absolutely amazing addition in the deck. Being able to have a continuous trap that just lets you fuse from your graveyard is absolutely amazing. It means that you don't really have to use your hand as much to make your excellent Shaddoll fusion monsters. Now there is quite a few ways to build this deck. This is just one of the many ways that you can build it, and I will just show you guys my interpretation of the deck. I hope you guys enjoy it. Starting off the deck profile, we have the 1 Ecclesia, the 1 Maximus, and the 1 Fleur de Lis. So a lot of people, this ratio kind of does differ from build to build. I think that 1 Ecclesia is pretty much fine in this deck, just because you do kind of have normal summons already, and I'm kind of trying to keep this deck as close to 40 as possible. You could theoretically cut Maximus down to 0 and play a second Ecclesia. That's something you can do. Personally, I only have 1 Ecclesia, and I really did want to, I wanted to just kind of like put this deck profile out there as fast as I could. I did take my kind of sweet time, I took my sweet time kind of, just thinking about like what I would want to say in this deck profile, and also just optimizing the list as well. And also haven't been able to get every single card that I need for the deck, so do keep that in mind. However, I do think 1 Ecclesia is completely fine, just because Nadir Servant is kind of the card that you would rather be drawing anyway. And also this kind of makes it so you can keep the deck as close to 40 as possible. As for the Invoked engine, we're playing the 3 Alistair. And then I guess I'll skip ahead to the spells with the 3 copies of Magical Meltdown, the 1 Terraforming, and the 2 Invocations. Meltdown is absolutely extraordinary in this deck, just because you are able to Shaddoll Rook under this, and they can't negate it. And also they won't be able to do anything on the summon of your Shaddoll Fusion monster. Same thing with Shaddoll Fusion, if you do remember like rulings regarding that. So these are absolutely amazing in this deck. Only 2 Invocation. You would kind of tend to see 3 Invocation in Shaddoll Invoke decks in the past, but in this deck particularly, you don't really need the 3rd Invocation, because we're not going to be we're not playing that many Shaddoll monsters to benefit off this that much, and you kind of do only really want it just to fuse into your Invoked Fusion monsters. But there is times where you draw like maybe a light and Invocation, and with a Shaddoll, and you just get to make a free construct. It's always nice. The next part is the Shaddoll, so I'm playing only 2 Wendy, 1 Ariel, 1 Squaw, Hedgehog, Dragon, and Shaddoll Beast. This might seem a bit weird to you, seeing as there's only 7 Shaddoll monsters, and here's kind of the quick rundown. I'm very sorry for the glare. I'll try fix it like this, maybe? Perfect. Okay. Okay, cool, we got it. So, yeah, this is quite a small Shaddoll package, but with this deck, you're actually kind of just winning the game most of the time on the first turn, and since you don't have to draw the Shaddoll monsters as much, thanks to Rook, you don't really need them as much. You don't need that many to be able to keep fusing and fusing into your Shaddoll Fusion monsters, so that's always good. Well, Ariel is absolutely amazing now in this format, because if people are playing Dogmatika Eldritch, you can absolutely blow them out with Ariel, because if they use Maximus effect, you get to dump your own App Cologne, and then App Cologne gets you to this, you discard it, and then their graveyard goes from the graveyard into the banished pile, which is always good. Its flip effect doesn't really come up all that much, but you can play around with it. I would recommend that you could maybe bump this up to 2. I think this is the only Shaddoll I would actually bump up in this deck, just because this card is so incredibly powerful, but it all kind of depends on whether or not people are playing Maximus. Even still, I think maybe a second Ariel could be a good fit in this deck. Only once Kamado might seem a bit weird, but once again, we're not going to be doing that like crazy Shaddoll combos in this. They are more of a supplementary engine in this deck, even though we are playing quite a few Shaddoll Fusion monsters, so you'll see the deck profile. you don't really need too many Shaddolls to be able to start your plays off. This is only really good just to dump El Shaddoll Fusion. That's kind of what it's just there for. Beast, good card to summon off the Wendy. Just being able to draw 2, discard 1 is always good. And also just being able to get a draw off of it. If you just add it off Apple and discard it is always good too. Hedgehog is probably the worst Shaddoll, but it's also another nice one to summon off of Wendy, because then you can use Rush Shaddoll, Incarnation, flip it up, and then search a Shaddoll spell or trap, which could be your El Shaddoll Fusion, your Shaddoll Fusion, or your Shaddoll Schism, which is also quite good. Shaddoll Dragon, you could potentially set a second copy of this, just nice to pop back with. Also kind of a nice card to summon off of Wendy. If you have the trap card in your graveyard, you can flip this up on your opponent's turn and just bounce something. And that's really good too. Like, its flip effect's quite good, and same thing with Squamata, being able to pop a monster too. So like, these all kind of serve their purpose, and I think you don't really need to play too many Shaddoll monsters anymore anyway. The last real monster I'm playing in my deck is Elish the Golden Lord. This might kind of seem quite painful to those kind of, building on a budget, although the entire deck is kind of not too budget friendly. This card, I think, is very, very good now in the Shaddoll decks, just because it is the best light target to send off of Shaddoll Fusion, and since we are playing Magical Meltdown, you can send us from the grave with Shaddoll Fusion to summon Construct, and then just dump off your, Magical Meltdown or whatever, and you have to add this back to hand and special summon it. It just lets you go for game shots a lot easier without needing the use of something like Access Code Talker, which is always good. Its in-hand effect is also quite nice sometimes, because you can use this in-grave effect to add it back to your hand, but then not special summon it, and if you have another spell trapped in the hand, bam, you can just wipe away something from the field, which could potentially come up. And also just 3,500 beasts, it's just better than Trickland. We don't need a level 4 for anything, right? For hand traps, I'm playing 3 Ash Blossom and Joy Springs, 3 Psyframe Gear Gamma, the 1 Psyframe Driver, and the 3 Infinite Impermanence. These are the 9 hand traps I am playing. Gamma is just the most impactful hand trap of the format. I think it's quite good in this. It's also a light, which is always good. Ash Blossom is also quite strong, be able to negate cards like Nadir's Servant, and also other things like Scarlet Sanguine and the Infernoble Night monsters, which is always good. The Infinite Permanences are also quite good, just because they do get around 3 tactical talents, which is something you might have to look out for depending on how the meta goes. And there's also just its on-field effect can also come up against the Elish decks to negate these spells and traps. And then for the spells, the best card in the deck, the card you want to see in most of your opening hands, Nadir's Servant. I cannot express to you how good this card is and how much this changes Shaddoll for the better moving forward. Maybe not so much better for people's wallets, but I digress. So you might kind of look at it at the start and being like, oh, okay, you can't really summon from the you can't summon for the extract for the rest of the turn after you activate it. And that kind of might seem bad, but it does add El Shaddoll. It does dump El Shaddoll App Clone from your extract to the graveyard, which is absolutely amazing, because then it can get you to your Shaddoll spells and traps like El Shaddoll Fusion or Shaddoll Schism, and then also just be able to just set them down. Absolutely amazing. And also just being able to add Ecclesia off it afterwards, and then Ecclesia getting you to a pop on your opponent's turn with Punishment, or a Disruption, a Infinite Impermanence on their turn with Fleur de Lis, or Maximus to keep extending into your plays. This card is so good, and you can't really run less than 3, to be perfectly honest. Then for the Shaddoll spells, we're playing the 3 Shaddoll Fusion and the 1 El Shaddoll Fusion. 1 El Shaddoll Fusion might seem a bit weird, because it's the best card, it's one of the best cards in the deck. Well, actually, we're not playing that many Shaddoll monsters anymore. So this is only really there when you're trying to go for the game shots, or when you're trying to protect a Winda. Maybe if you're potentially trying to make a El Shaddoll construct on your opponent's turn, dump Ariel or something, and just be able to protect the castle, or even potentially just make a second Winda. This card is quite a good flex spot. Well, not a flex spot. It's just a good utility card now, just because it's kind of the OTK enabler in this deck now. And also, it's just kind of searchable with Squamata, which every Shaddoll monster is now kind of tutorable thanks to Nadir's Servant. You can even tutor this off of the app clone if you do deem necessary. 3 Call by the Grave. Cards like Ash Blossom are running about at the moment, so we kind of do need to play 3 of this, and I think it might be slightly better than Talents in this deck, just because with Talents, if they don't have a hand trap, it just doesn't really do enough. Whereas with this, if they don't have a hand trap, you can set it, and it's just so good. Also going second, you can negate cards like Elder Entity Entis that your opponent sends off of their Dogmatika punishment, which is also quite good. Also negates cards like Ghost Ogre. Ogre's not too prevalent against for this deck, but like Veiler, Ash Blossom, quite a good card. This card's quite good against those types of cards. You could potentially play triple tactical talents, but I'm not too keen on it at the moment, but it is something you could try. For the trap cards, we're playing the 1 Shaddoll Schism, the new card, the Shaddoll Incarnation, and 1 Dogmatika Punishment. Shaddoll Incarnation, just a really good card for the grind game, and also do kind of potential tricks with it. Once again, this is kind of another card that you could potentially bump up to 2 if you're trying to maybe go for a maybe grindier version of this deck. You kind of do need to play 2 of this because you can find yourself maybe using the Graveyard effect to use it as protection. If you have the second one in your deck, it's quite good. Just because you have more copies of it to you can be a lot more greedier with your Shaddoll Incarnation, which is good. This card kind of facilitates your like infinite loops in the deck, just because you're able to like summon a construct or something off of it, construct dumps, whatever, and if they kill the construct, you get to add this back and then do it again on their turn, on their following turn. So it's like it's quite a strong card, especially since that Dogmatika Punishment does lock you out of the extract until the end of the next turn. Means that cards like this is see a lot more value just because they don't summon from the extract, they're summoning your Shaddoll monsters from your graveyard, which is good. The Dogmatika Punishment, the nice removal card that you can add off of Ecclesia, just being able to like dump an Elder Entity Entis, pop one of your opponent's monsters, pop another card with Entis, and just get a free +1 off of it. Also, if you don't need the +1 that way, if you don't want to, if there's nothing else you want to pop, you can again send like Shaddoll Apcalone and then once again get your engine rolling. Although you won't be able to summon from the extra deck, but you could do things so if you're doing it on their turn and you're sending Apcalone, you won't be able to summon from the extra deck again on your turn. But if you're adding Shaddoll Schism or Shaddoll Fusion off the Apcalone, you'll be able to do it on their following turn, so you're able to keep applying pressure. Speaking of which, Shaddoll Schism, absolutely amazing card for pure, just normal Shaddoll decks. Just being able to fusion summon during the main phase, meaning yours and your opponent's, is just quite phenomenal. And also its second nice little part about the effect where you can send an opponent's monster that's the same attribute as the monster you summon is also quite good. You could theoretically kind of maybe play something like El Shaddoll Grista and El Shaddoll Shekinaga, because decks like Infernoble Knight and Adamancipator are running about, and this card could potentially send away problematic cards like Infernoble Knight Charles, or maybe even the Fire Warriors they summon. Cool thing as well with Schism is that Isolde is a light, so even if you're not playing Grista, if they summon Isolde, you can go like Schism, summon Construct, and then Schism sends away the Isolde, which is another really nice piece of removal you could have if you've already used with your Windows. Keep in mind though that the Schism does not allow the monster you summon off it to ever attack directly, not just the turn it's summoned, just forever. So do keep that in mind when you're playing this card. Also really nice, since that's a Shaddoll Spell Trap, widely searchable in the deck, and also widely recurable unless it gets Cosmic Cyclone, which could be a bit scary for this card. For the extra deck, there's 10 fusion monsters and 5 links, so let's get... 4 links and a synchro monster. So let's get into it. So the 6... we're playing 6 Shaddoll Fusion monsters, 2 Construct, 2 Apcalone, and 2 Winda. These are all kind of for the grind game, but 2 Apcalone is very necessary in any Shaddoll Dogma deck. I cannot stress this enough, you very much need 2, because you will need one to summon, and then 1 to dump off of your Dogmatika cards, your Nadir Servant and your Maximus. You really do need 2. 3 also just does come up sometimes, so it's kind of hard to fit the third one in, but I digress. 2 of each Shaddoll Fusion monster is fine, just because you do kind of need... They help you go for game shots, so you should just be running 2 of each. They're just fine. 2 Winda does come up, just so you can, if your first one gets outed, you can then potentially make a second one, and it's all good. Obviously, a Construct being absolutely phenomenal card in this deck, just being able to summon on your opponent's turn, send a Zold, and use its effect to send Aerial. Really, really good disruption. Really a phenomenal card, Construct is. And then for the Invoked Fusions, we're playing Mechaba, Ugadis, and Purgatrio. ROTDs is phenomenal. So easy to make in this deck because you have so many fusion monsters. And with Meltdown on the field, they can't respond to the pop effect, which is amazing. And it just becomes really huge, really fast, because you can just banish a fusion monster from your graveyard and it just gains its attack. Banish Megabar Construct, big ROTDs, you know? And Trigger Trio is really nice, because after siding, you side in cards like Forbidden Droplets, and then you can just go Forbidden Droplets, brrr, and then you just kill them. Because all their monsters get halved, Trigger Trio just runs over all of them. That's pretty nice for going for OTK plays. Mechaba, you can maybe try fitting in a second one, but I think one is just fine enough, because the games are not going to be lasting too long anyway. You do have to keep in mind, though, when your first Mechaba does get out, you can't really do much. The last fusion monster I'm playing is the Elder Entity Antis. This is just to get sent off of your Dogmatika cards. It's just a nice utility flex spot. Also, if your opponent's also playing the Dogmatika cards and they're playing Maximus, you can just dump this and it's like a free pop, essentially, which is always good. For the Link monsters, there's only 4 of them. We're not playing Access Code or anything like that. It's just the Almirage, the Cure Gardener, Gravity Controller, and the Predator Plant Verte. So we're not playing Access Code or Cross Sheep. There just really isn't space, and I think I would rather just play cards like Verte Anaconda instead. I know people play Cross Sheep to, get rid of their monsters in their window. They get rid of their window just so they can play on. But I think this is a lot better just because you don't have to use Verte's effect on summon. You can kind of just like out your own window, go about your day, and then at the very end of your combo go Verte, send Shaddoll Fusion, and just push them in and potentially just kill them. Gravity Control is nice because of linking off your fusion monsters in the extra monster zone, like Construct is really good. Even like if you're not starting with the Dogmatika cards, this is really good because you can summon something like App Clone in the extra monster zone, link it off for this, and then just get your entire engine rolling, which is, really good. And then, yeah, Secure Gardener, Almirage is for the standard Alistair play, Alistair into this, this into this, and then you have a Link monster in the graveyard to banish for Maximus, and also a Light/Fire to make your Invoked fusions with. It's really nice. Like, the attributes just really go hand in hand in this deck. And then the last card in our extra deck is Cyframe Lord Omega. This is to make with our Gamma and Driver if they do ever, if we do ever use them on our turn. However, this is actually just a nice card as well to send off of your Dogmatika trap cards and Dogmatika cards, because it can put back your Shaddoll fusion monsters, so you can fuse into them again with Schism. Once again, like I said, Schism is absolutely amazing in this deck, and Omega also does help a lot because you are able to just dump this, put back your fusion monsters, and then just keep making fusion monsters. Take into account that you might still have the Shaddoll monsters in your graveyard to be able to do so, but it shouldn't be too hard to do so. Anyway, guys, that was my deck. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. If you haven't already, and seeing as I do shove it down everyone's throats every single time, I do stream on Twitch, so make sure to stop by and say hi. We don't really play that much Yu-Gi-Oh anymore, but it's mainly just chatting, and maybe I play Mario Odyssey the odd time, Paper Mario. It's all a lot of fun. I'm not got it, but I somewhat understand more. Yo! And we also get to try new decks, and you get to see things like this early, which is cool. So if you are looking for competitive Yu-Gi-Oh content, make sure to stop by. And with that, guys, that was my Invoked Shaddoll Dogmatika deck profile. I really hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys next time. Bye!